how does Automobilista 2 compare to the current gold standard ultimate big daddy of sim racing, Assetto Corsa? We're going to break down each component of the sim and say which sim does what better, and at the end of it you'll know which one to pick if you can't just get both of them. Fasten your seatbelts, the fanboys are going to cry. There's no muscle, there's no gaming, it's all a lie. But thank you for subscribing, thank you for clicking the like button, and thank you for using my Fanatec affiliate link in the description. All these people support us each month, oh dear God help them. One of the most important parts of a racing simulator, which most racing simulators and simulators in general tends to get wrong, is ease of use. And it has to be said, following on from its Madness Engine Project Cars 2 heritage and Reese's hard work, Automobilista 2 is one of the easiest sims to use. You buy it on Steam, you install it. It is a little bit of a fiddle to get your wheel working at times, and the user interface isn't generally the best user interface, but what you've got is a game and a package that for the most part will just work. You don't have to get additional content, mess around with things too much. It will probably also just run well out of the box, and if you're new to sim racing and don't have a wheel yet, you will also be able to just play AMS2 with a gamepad right away. So that makes it a lot more accessible and a lot easier to use than Assetto Corsa, where you'll need to remember to buy the Ultimate Edition of the game, you'll need to get Content Manager, you'll need to get Shader Patch, you'll need to get Pure, and then you'll have to find some mods to install. Although actually the base content in AC is amazing, you could ignore all the modding and still have a really good time, but out of the box, AC is a bit dated, graphics aren't so good, AI still's not very good, you need online racing. You know, there's a lot to get into your head to really get AC to sing and dance, or to get the absolute most out of Assetto Corsa. For a new person, especially someone that's new to sim racing in general, AC will cause their brain to explode. Whereas AMS2, someone could literally slither out of the ocean without any arms or legs and slop themselves into a single player game and generally have a pretty good time. So if you're looking for the most low effort, easy to understand, easy to get into racing game, racing simulator, AMS2 would be my choice. Those of you without arms and legs that have just slithered out of the ocean. With realistic racing games, the graphics aren't the most important thing, but we need to justify all that money we wasted on sim racing equipment and computer hardware. So graphics is important. Unfortunately, both Assetto Corsa and Automobilista 2 look absolutely stunning, as long as you've modded Assetto Corsa, that is. Both have really nice rain, day, night, sunrise, sunset, really nice skies, really nice environments, crucially very detailed grass. But the most important part of the graphics is how nice it looks combined with how well it runs. And I will say, from my experience, Automobilista 2 manages to run slightly better than modded AC, whilst also looking absolutely gorgeous. I would say though, if I had to nitpick, in my view, AC with Pure and Soul does look more photorealistic. There's a quality to Madness Engine where things look a little bit too rounded and at times a little bit cartoony. You then also have some aspects with the shadows at more obtuse angles being a little bit more shimmery in Automobilista 2 than AC. So, you know, it's really nitpicking. I think absolute raw graphical fidelity, you've got the potential to get better results with AC, but if you're not really looking at it too much or fiddling too much and you're talking about out of the box, AMS2 wins. In terms of the actual car details and track details though, the general quality in AMS2 is absolutely fantastic, especially the environments and all the objects in those environments and them feeling very full, and then also running with track details on very high smoothly. But I think when you look at the quality of the mod content available to AC and mod tracks, even completely free mod tracks, you do sometimes get what look to be more realistic or more detailed in a photorealistic sense with Assetto Corsa. But then there's a huge variance in Assetto Corsa, and you could get a crap mod and a crap track and it could look terrible. So on average, AMS2 is consistently very, very good, and some of their tracks are absolutely mind-blowing. So I'm giving the crown to Automobilista 2 on this one. It's controversial, I know, but I think for most people, AMS2 will win on the graphics front. Also, look at the weather, which was just automatically done in the game and randomised, and it looks great. Fantastic. Can't beat Brands Hatch in the rain. You can be depressed in real life and in your simulator. Spot on. Absolutely spot on. Right, the most important thing when it comes to a racing game, and I left it just to tease you guys, just to lure everyone in, because I know they'll have a breakdown when we go through this. But the most important thing, of course, is the physics. And sadly, AMS2 just isn't in the same ballpark as Assetto Corsa. Now, let me clarify before you get in that comment section. Let's keep in mind that out of the box, the driving is really good fun, really consistent, and there's a good amount of depth to the physics in Automobilista 2. I'd also say, since the last update, really big sort of physics holes where it feels like the car would just turn off, or you'd be doing really, really crazy monster drifts around every single corner, that has been resolved, and things drive like cars in Automobilista 2 in a general sense. But at the same time, AMS2 feels like you're driving with some kind of assist on, and it also is really sluggish and slow for the car to sort of pop out, the grip to come back. Everything is really drawn out, which makes it really easy to drive and really forgiving to drive. And I think for a lot of people, especially on lower end equipment, or if you're playing with a gamepad, will make it a lot more fun to play. But if you were looking to directly copy driving real cars in real life and getting as close as possible to that, Assetto Corsa, as I say, is just on another level. You really notice it with drifting or Formula cars, or more bitey vehicles. AC is just way more responsive and way more immediate. You're really going to have to be on your toes with your pedal and your brake, and you still get a fantastic amount of depth with AC. Though I would certainly say that AC is still more sluggish than Reality. Reality is weirdly even very snappy, but also has a huge amount of depth to it. AC has a lot to improve on to get as close as possible to Reality. And well, in MS2 you can drive on curbs, which is something you have to be very careful on in AC. So no sim is perfect, but the fact of the matter is, if someone was to ask me they want to practice for real world driving, you would not recommend Automobilista 2. You would say Assetto Corsa with XYZ mod tweaked to their car, or you'd go R Factor 2 with XYZ car, or maybe even Automobilista 1. Those three sims are just way tighter, responsive, and don't feel like you're always driving on somewhat worn out road tyres, even when you're supposed to be driving on slick tyres. So the physics, though, have improved in AMS2 over time, and I hope they get it even better. The improvements coming. But the physics are still with Assetto Corsa. It is still the ultimate sim if you want to capture the essence of balancing a performance vehicle at the limit and really experiencing as best possible at home what it's like to drive a race car. Please leave your complaints in the comments section. I will do my best to not read them. Force feedback. Now this is a difficult one, because I actually think AMS2 has really good force feedback, and specifically what I like about Automobilista 2 is the ability to customize the force feedback to a degree that you can't in any other simulator, and I wish that was the norm across racing sims. But even the bog standard default plus or default force feedback in Automobilista 2 is really nice and detailed. I mean, it absolutely destroys the force feedback in R Factor 2, ACC. Well, I mean, just looking at a brick, pushing a brick across a floor has better force feedback than ACC. iRacing, the force feedback's actually really good. The default force feedback's really good in AMS2. But the force feedback in Assetto Corsa is also absolutely fantastic, with both AC and AMS2's force feedback describing what the car is doing in the game. The braking, the slip, the back coming out, the front coming out. I would say AMS2, I think it's more the physics than the force feedback. There seems to be a lack of momentum or body roll from the physics side of AMS2. Everything's very, very stiff and planky in AMS2, despite also being very slidey. for whatever reason, maybe it's not suspension, maybe it's to do with tyre carcass, who knows what it is, for whatever reason, the force feedback in AC1 gives you a really good feel of that sort of slight bit of tyre lean, tyre give that's quite narrow but vital for balancing just on that tiny bit of slip to get the most out of the vehicle, whereas AMS2 you could say is a little bit vague and maybe a bit wish-washy, but you know, you can probably customise it in AMS2 anyway. So I'm going to give the credit to AMS2 for having the full-on customisable force feedback, and I think as the physics improve in AMS2, the force feedback will improve as well, and then I think it'll be much closer to that tightness that you've got in the original Assetto. So as it is right now, out of the box, I'd still give it to Assetto Corsa. You'd have to fiddle about with the force feedback too much, and it still feels absolutely superb and very similar, or captures similar the experience of real driving. So I'm giving it to AC, but it's well, I kind of have to give it 50-50, you know. I'm giving it to both of them. I'm copping out. I really like the force feedback in both AC and AMS2, and I think if you've got a direct drive wheel, it'd be worth trying both of them, because it's very interesting from a haptics and force feedback perspective. As you can tell, I'm a bit of a nerd into this. So yeah, we're sharing the crown. We're cutting the crown in half. The crown's lost its value. We're going to the Tower of London for vandalising the crown. But both of them get the crown for force feedback. God, what a cop-out. Virtual reality. Yes, 3 people bought VR headsets, and those people like to play racing sims in VR. Well, one of them does, because there's only one VR player that's also playing driving sims as well as owning a VR headset. I would say you have to give it to Automobilista 2. Mostly it's again to do with it being a single package, the user interface, the way it runs so well graphically, and the frame timing without the fiddling. AC's superb in VR, but AMS2 out of the box is a basic VR experience for most people. You need to play Automobilista 2 in VR. Different times of day. It's probably going to run better than AC, especially in VR, and you'll have an absolutely fantastic time. So that's a quick one for VR for those 2 people with VR headsets. I think VR is going to take over in the future, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge VR fan. I'm negging myself in this VR talk, but you know, for content I do stuff in 2D. But AMS2 for VR, I'm giving it the VR crown. Okay, VR people, go away. No VR, no bike. No one cares. Get out. Goodbye, VR people. Right, following that deep dive into VR, sound, AMS2 sounds perfectly passable. Some of the content is not the best sounding. It's not the most exciting to listen to. You know, there's lots of other sims that have better sound than Automobilista 2. But AMS2's fine, though. At the moment, in the modding scene for Assetto Corsa, some of the RSS cars and some of the mod cars that have come out sound so good, you can't not give the crown to Assetto Corsa for the mods and the audio quality in the mods. Where, you know, if you've got a good sound system, you'll enjoy AMS2, it sounds fine, but the difference is like listening to like broken headphones versus going to a rock concert. The quality of the sound in some of the mods for ACs is insane. So I know it's mods and you go, well, that's not the vanilla game. We're not talking about that. We're talking about what's available and what you can get. And AC sound, it just not default sound, but AC mod sound absolutely destroys AMS2 at the moment. So I'm giving the sound crown goes to Assetto Corsa. Now we also have to talk a bit about the content, and as I said at the beginning, you do get a lot of content and that ease of use with Automobilista 2. That's kind of the theme of this video, is AMS2 is a great package, and now there's so many great cars, especially vintage cars, GT1 cars, and fantastic tracks in AMS2. As far as a game goes out of the box, it does have a really great content selection there, but you can't compete with modders, can you? Like, if you can think of a track or a piece of public road or a car, it probably exists in Assetto Corsa, and as I say, the physics are better than AMS2, so it will drive better than anything that's in Automobilista 2. So content wise, though I think as a release title, a release title AMS2 is bloody good, you just can't beat modding in Assetto Corsa. So the content crown has to go to Assetto Corsa. So much variation, so many different cars. It's staggering. I don't know how any developer is meant to compete with the 10 years or so backlog of content that's been produced for Assetto Corsa. Also, keep in mind, if you were going to do a real track day or do some real-world driving, it's all great having the car in a sim, or, you know, having a better sim than another sim, but just having a version of the track available is really the most valuable thing. You have to have the track that you're going to. That's the most valuable thing that a simulator can offer, and any sim that does that automatically makes it great for learning the layout, which is a big time drain. I mean, I've used R-Factor 1 randomly to like learn tracks or take a look at a go-kart track that just isn't in any other sim. So that is a huge value both for entertainment but also for pure simulator use with Assetto Corsa. Now we're getting towards the end of this video, but congratulations those of you that have got this far. I don't know what's wrong with you. The dedication's disturbing. What I would say, if you manage to get this far, type in the comment section, type salmon do have legs, and that way people coming to the video will be really confused when they go through the comment section. Absolutely fantastic. So right, where are we? We've covered force feedback, VR, ease of use, graphics. I think really what we need to talk about now is single player, and well, it's no contest. it's no contest. AC single player, the AI is terrible. It's awful. Sometimes it can work okay, but a lot of the time the AI will just crash in weird places. They do that weird bunch up start thing. You know, there's some mods for the AI and things that have tweaked and improved it a bit, but it's not good, guys. If you wanted a single player game to play through, Assetto Corsa is not that game. It really is not that game. Whereas Automobilista 2, since the update, you can have really fun AI racing. Now, it's still not perfect in AMS2. The AI struggles with blue flags, longer races, strategy and things. I think maybe they'll improve that in the future. But if you're doing sprint races, so no pit races, 10-lap races, and you just want AI that puts up a good fight and looks kind of like how people would drive and race, you can get that from Automobilista 2. And right now, I think I would probably say that iRacing has better AI, but generally speaking, for value, ease of access, get into a race and do racing with AI perspective, Automobilista 2 absolutely kills it. Now, unfortunately, there isn't a proper sort of single-player career mode. There's a kind of artificial way of doing it, and there's a mod that kind of does it, but there's no like proper structural single-player in both AC or AMS2. As I say, there's some mods for both of them, so maybe that will come with time. But yeah, if you wanted to pick some content, pick a track, do a sprint race, and have a good sprint race with AI, you will get that from Automobilista 2. You generally won't get it from AC. Yeah, so it's no real contest. The crown, the diamond encrusted crown, goes to Automobilista 2, and I would definitely say if you're the type of person that's looking for a realistic driving sim that also has AI to race against, because you hate people and you hate online racing, Automobilista 2 is just that's what you should get. no question about it. That is what you should get. Choice made for you. No thinking required. So, the final thing, though, that we've not talked about is multiplayer. Now, this is a difficult one, again, to really pick one sim or the other. AMS2 has a really nice lobby system where you can create a lobby, you can host your own session, and it works really well. The contact's pretty nice. There's a little bit of desync at the start, so if you're doing super serious multiplayer racing, I wouldn't go with Automobilista 2, because there's some stuff that's not particularly fair with it, and things can glitch occasionally at times. But for a jump in, you want to host a game with race with friends, it really works really well for that scenario and is really fun. But then if you're doing Assetto Corsa, if you've got Content Manager set up, you can host Assetto Corsa servers with friends, from your own system, and or like for leagues or whatever you want, and there's loads of options, and it works really seamless, and it's really smooth online. The starts all work perfectly, the netcode's not terrible. There are some quirks to Assetto Corsa, it's not completely perfect, but generally speaking I would say multiplayer works better in Assetto Corsa. There's also stuff like World Sim Series, there's a lot of leagues established, there's more options with Assetto Corsa. So if you were doing jump-in multiplayer with your friends and you also want to fill up with AI, casual multiplayer basically, I would totally go with Automobilista 2. I'd say though, if you wanted to do more serious multiplayer, longer races, specific content, more organised stuff, or if people are running competitions, or you want to do those ranking leagues or sim racing GP, all those kind of things, then Assetto Corsa I would say has better multiplayer. So I'm giving the multiplayer, and you kind of have to split this both ways. For convenient jump-in multiplayer with your friends, it's Automobilista 2, casual multiplayer if you will. I mean, you can still take it seriously, but you know what I mean. But for serious, you need to go outside multiplayer, league racing, all that kind of stuff, really practicing a lot for a race, serious. It's so stupid saying serious, but like e-sport multiplayer and that kind of thing, then I would give the crown to Assetto Corsa. It's nice. I think it's nice actually having the choice between the two, and that's why for me I really liked Project Cars 2, which uses the Madness engine that Automobilista 2 uses and has the same multiplayer to it. And it's also why I liked Automobilista 2 originally. If you just want to do live streaming and jump in with some friends and have a good time, that's why AMS2 is really great, and that slots in really well with the content and the ease of driving and the ease of accessibility. So, it's kind of swings and roundabouts in many ways when it comes to the multiplayer. But that's another split crown. Sorry, cop out. We could take the other half of the crown from the force feedback, stitch it together, and now we've got two separate crowns, or two full crowns. I'm still going to the Tower of London for vandalising the Queen's property, but I don't care. It's probably cheaper in the Tower of London than it is. Well, it is definitely cheaper to be imprisoned in the Tower of London than to buy even a shed in that part of London. So that is pretty much it, guys. Really, I mean, the last thing you can really talk about, or I'm going to talk about, is the price and value for money. Now, when it comes to value with the sim, it's hard to say, because if you spend a lot of time playing any of the sims, you'll get good value from it. Even iRacing, which costs billions of pounds to play, if you play that for like 10 hours a week, well, you'll get the value from that billions of pounds, won't you? So, it's hard to say value for money. The fact is, objectively, Assetto Corsa is basically free, and mods keep coming. Free mods are really great. Tracks cars, you can't beat free, can you? When it comes to value, AC's the best value for money bloody driving game, probably game ever made, really, in a sense. Maybe Half-Life 1 with all its mods, but yeah, AC's got a win for pure value. But even if you were to buy all the DLC for Automobilista 2, I think you'll still really get good value from it. So yeah, I'm giving the value to Assetto Corsa. Let's say you spent £25 on AC, Ultimate Edition of AC. You bought some RSS cars. You got Patreon and Sol and stuff. Even if you spent £30–40 on Assetto Corsa, I think you're still getting better value, generally speaking, than Automobilista 2 if you spent the same amount on AMS2. But yeah, I mean, both are just fantastic value for money. I think that's the thing with sims. If you've got a force feedback wheel and you've got a sim that's fun to drive, both AC and Automobilista 2 are fun to drive, you're going to get crazy value from both of them, relatively speaking, to other video games and other hobbies. I mean, it takes, 100 hours to learn how to drive around a bloody track. Well, that's great. It's great value. Sure, it's depressing. Sure, you're terrible at driving. Sure, you should probably be able to pick it up faster, and you're an idiot, and the game will make you feel terrible with loads of timing bars on the screen telling you how bad you are. But that's the whole point of sim racing. Ultimately, it's for masochists to feel bad about themselves, and that's what AC and Automobilista 2 do perfectly. They make you feel terrible. So there you go. I mean, that's it really. So the choice is yours as to which one to pick. It should be clear from this video that both are well worth having. I would definitely say, mostly due to the single player and the fact that AMS2 is a nice package, AMS2 I think is a better game, and I would say that this is going to upset the fanboys, but I think Assetto Corsa is a better simulator. It's a more pure simulator, more refined and more tuned, but then you have to do more to get that refined, tuned nature out of it. It's a shame because I would like AC to be more of a game, you know, more game stuff in it. And I'd like Automobilista 2 to be more of a simulator. So can we not push them together and meet in the middle ground? I would say if you're coming to this completely fresh, new to sim racing, ready to ruin your life, I would just get Automobilista 2, easier to understand, you can get on track, you can start driving, it's accommodates gamepad, right, so just go with AMS2 if you don't know anything at all. Start with AMS2 and then pick up AC and ruin your life with that later on, and then go into R-Factor 2 and iRacing or whatever later on. But focus on ruining your life initially with the accommodating, friendly land of Automobilista 2. Right, that is it, guys. I wanted to keep this video under 25 minutes. We've kind of just failed as usual, but thank you very much for watching this. I hope this was useful for those of you that are coming to this new and afresh. If you'd like more of this, which of course nobody does, you can click the subscribe button, you can hit the bell, but most importantly of all, if you're going to take away any single lesson from this video and this channel, it would be to make yourself a cup of tea and drink it. Until the next one, guys, happy tea drinking, take care, and goodbye.